Hi, and welcome to the MomafeyHT Live Conversation. And I want to welcome everybody on YouTube, Facebook, and Substack. We're here live again, and today we're going to talk about living longer and why your address may be affecting your age, believe it or not. So, I did a podcast, from those of you who follow me, you know that there's the Mama Faye Becoming Me podcast that drops an episode every week on Tuesdays. And the Tuesday, we talked about becoming old because remember, we are in this process of becoming. We're setting goals so that we can be more consistent about getting results. So we have set out this year on a journey to become. And one of the things that we become, whether we like it or not, if you keep living and you keep breathing, you are going to become old. And take it from me, it happens a lot quicker than you may think. I realized that I was becoming old when I went for my first Medicare annual visit to the doctor this year. And while I was at that visit, the lady said that, she wanted me to do some type of testing. And so she gave me words and she said, in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you what those words are. And I need you to repeat those words to me. So she gave me the 4 words that I was supposed to repeat. And I, of course, remembered, okay, these are the 4 words that I'm supposed to repeat. And so I wait, when she asked me for those words again, I repeated the 4 words to her. So in about 5 or 10 minutes, she uh, asked me for those words again. And I repeated, I said, oh, I forgot the words. I said, because I thought you just wanted me to repeat them, again. I, didn't remember. I said, but if you told me, I would have remembered the words. And what I realized was she was giving me a cognitive test. Now, that's when I realized, oh, I'm about that age now, huh? So now I'm going to be being tested to I am in my, intellectually, if I'm cognitive, if I'm having any signs of forgetfulness. So that's when you realize that you are actually getting old. And for those of you who are my age and upward, you understand what that means because now you have to be tested. I haven't went through that all of the times because I go and do my annual testing, but I have never had someone to actually test me for being cognitively, you know, adapt or have my cognitive abilities. So that's one of the fun things that you have to look forward to when you become older. So today we're going to talk briefly about it. What I do want to talk to you about is I saw a Netflix series that was called the Blue Dot Documentary, and the name of the series was Live to 100 Secrets of the Blue Zone. And if you haven't seen it already, I really encourage you to watch it. I don't care who you are because the earlier you start thinking about these things as you get older. So I apologize for some of the technical difficulties. My internet's going a little slow. But in this particular series with the Blue Zone, they were able to track, these were research and these were professionals who were able to track certain areas in the world where people live to be 100. So you might say to yourself, yeah, I heard about people living to be 100. That's, we that 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 is much more happening more now than maybe in the past. Ooh, they live to be 100. Now it's sort of common, but the difference is that the people who live to be 100 in the blue zones acted. They weren't, people who sit in a chair all day and stare out the window or read a book, which is nothing wrong with that. They're not people who are in the bed. These are people who are active, just like they are in their 20s or 30s, 40s. I have seen people in their 30s and 40s and 50s who couldn't do what they could do. So I encourage you to watch that particular video because it really highlights. And what they did was they highlighted 9 different characteristics of those people that they all had in common. And that was really what was exciting. And so it lets you know that even when you live in certain environments, that it can affect how you live. Now, the thing is that with that, also, though some of the 9 characteristics, and I go through them in the podcast this week, but I also did a newsletter and I put that in there as well, which is called the Becomers newsletter. So it's in there as well. So, and also too, on that, I talk about, and one of the 9 that they talked about, of course, is the way that we eat. And we have to eat from the ground, meaning that to try to get as much food, fruits, and vegetables. And if you're eating meat, not processed meat. And so all of them had that in common. They had that type of diet that they were doing, and that was key. But these people also moved, and their movement was different from ours because we are so our minds mostly in, I would say, in the US, and I won't say everybody, but a lot of times we're, as long as we have an active gym membership or we actively walk for an hour or however long, we're considered, active in our activity. But what was different, these blue zones, they not only were active, like lived a lifestyle, or they lived their active every day to day. They were active all day throughout the day, cleaning or walking or gardening, or one was horseback riding. I mean, they were doing other, everything that they had some type of movement with cooking and preparation and all of those things. So it was a different type of movement. And those were 2 of the things that they had out of the 9. And another thing was that they were faith based. They all had a faith that they practiced. And a lot of, I saw a study when I was in school that said that those that actively prayed, that they fared better when they had better outcomes as far as being sick, as far as being recovering. So the people that lived in these zones also had a level of faith. And I said, oh God, thank you. All of those days and years that I spent in church, but also in my prayer life, that it has a benefit as well as far as living longer. And then they also had a positive outlook on life. And so when you have a positive outlook on life, it also propels you to live longer. And when you have a purpose for living, that also propels you to want to live longer. I know a lot of times when you have family or you have friends or you have kids, a lot of times people have also wanted to live longer. I remember when my mom always told a story about how she had cancer and how she was really, really sick in the hospital. and the doctors had pretty much given her up because in the sense that they felt that was nothing else that they could do for her. But she had a dream that and in her dream she had saw her father, who had passed when she was about 18, 19 years old. And he encouraged her. He said, you have to go back and you have to raise your children, because at this time she had babies. And so she woke up from that dream. But what happened is she had a different outlook. And because of that outlook, it caused her to want to fight to live. And she was able to do that. And she lived about, I would say, about 30 some years later, before she passed away. And, the cancer came back and she passed away. But by that time, all of her children were grown and her grandchildren were all here, and most of them were of age. And so I having a good outlook on life and having a reason to live also impact how long you live. And not talking today about just living long, we're talking about having a good quality of life while you live. Because most of us, yes, we want to live out our days, but we want to be as healthy and as normal and as vibrant and be able to do the things that we would like to do while we're here. So that was one of the things. And then another thing that I wanted to talk about too was where you live have an impact on how long you live. And so there were scientists who also mapped out in the USA two different types of area, and they called one hot spot and the other one a cold spot. And for the hot spots, it was called hot spots because those were areas in the US where people lived longer. And of course, one of those that was in the Netflix series was in California, one of those blue zones. But these are not the blue zones. These are areas where people actually lived longer than other people. And then the cold spots were places where people died much earlier. And to let you know, even with that, on that, the people who, the difference was actually a 20-year difference. Can you imagine 20 years difference by just where your zip code is? So I mean, most of us cannot just pick up and move to an area where its life is expectancy is greater. But what I do want to encourage us today is that we can still implement, because everything that those people implemented that lived 100 and did it well were things that you and I can actually put into our daily routine. And maybe we won't live to be 100, but maybe we'll live a better quality of life, and we can extend the quality of our lives if we practice those things. So I want to encourage you to go and listen to that. It is on, I stream it on Facebook. I do stream it to YouTube. It's on Substack. It lives on Substack. And if you subscribe to that Mama Faye Becoming Me podcast, you will get that notification every time that it goes out. First, because you can watch it right here on YouTube, Facebook, and Substack. And also with that is I talk about that newsletter. You can also read more, because I usually put more information in the newsletter, because writing is another thing that I enjoy as well. So I want you to do that. And I also want you to subscribe to the podcast And for those of you who subscribe for free, I give you a PDF. It's a goal setting journal. And the reason why it's in PDF form is because you can print out the page and start your own becoming goals. And one of them can be making goals. You can take those 9 and make them out of goals that you do, because I'm implementing some of those goals myself. And it's just about staying consistent, because anytime you want to um, uh, get a goal, accomplish a goal, you have to be consistent. That's one of the ways to reach a goal, is being consistent. And that doesn't mean that you're going to get it right every day. That doesn't mean that things are not going to come and distract you, or you may have obstacles in your way. What it does mean is that you keep resetting, bringing yourself back to your goals. And when you do it over a period of time, you do see difference. You see some difference. And even if you don't get it perfect, because a lot of times we're waiting to get perfect with it. And so we'll wait on trying to start something because we want to be perfect and we want to be able to. But in this day and time, you're going to have to start even when it doesn't seem like you're going to be able to do it, because as you do it, we believe you might get 3 days in, you eat right. You might get 5 days in, you eat right, until you can get up to all 7 days. And you might get everything, but start with something. Even with the movement, you might have to start very, very slow. And I do encourage you to go and see a doctor, because that's the first step. It's going and getting a physical and getting your blood work done, so that they can look at your labs and make sure that you are ready to do some type of physical exercise. But this is not about exercising. This is about just going about doing things, making up your bed, or doing your laundry, or putting on your meal, doing meal prep. And for those of you who go outside, this may be going outside and looking at, looking around and doing some light job, work in the yard, not heavy, not strenuous, not overbearing, but it's just having that ability to move and get up. Maybe it's getting up, for some of you, just getting up off the couch every hour and walking around. So it may be just little things that will help you to continue to be able to move. And and so those are some of the things that we do when you have a goal, and those little things will add up over time. So I want to encourage you to subscribe, get that PDF and print it off, write down your goal, and then it tells you to write down how exactly you plan to accomplish that goal. And we also try to put a time frame. You can always change the time frame, you can always adjust your goals, but you want to always have those goals on hand. All right. And for those of you who become a yearly subscriber, you have more perks, because you become a part of the Becomers Club. And in that, there's coaching sessions for you. There are free ebooks. There are discounts for you. And you have access to my special page. And I would like to encourage those of you to please like and subscribe. If you like Mama Faye and the things that I'm trying to bring to you, please like and subscribe, and leave some comments to let me know subjects that you would like for me to cover. I will do my best to cover those things and bring you the information that you need. So that is all for today. I do want to remind you to come to my lives. I try to do it on Thursdays, but it'll be at least every week. And if you put on a notification, you'll know when I'm going live on, and basically it's then on YouTube and uh, uh, Facebook. But I also do a live on Twitch. So I thank for my Twitch followers to continue to come on. I will check and make sure that I'm looking at your chat, and any comments that you leave, I will also get that too. All right. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.